It's time for the Dog and Pauly podcast on FingerLakes1.com, featuring Harold Webb Dog Weber and Paul Hellstrom.
Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Today is October 10th, 2012, and welcome to episode 62 of the Dog and
Pauly Show.
The Web Dog is taking a couple weeks off. I'm Jim Sinacrobe, sitting in with Paul Hellstrom, and today we're going to be taking a look at how things stand in local high school football and other sports as the fall season is winding down. And we'll also talk some Major League postseason baseball, a little chase for the cup, a little football, and I may have been mistaken. There's Harold right there.
Yeah, there's Harold's been under the weather for the last few days, but he gutted it out and came in. He said something, and he doesn't look too bad. I mean, he never looked good, so, I mean, this is about the best he can look, I guess.
He may have a little laryngitis. I don't know if we'll hear much from him today.
It looks like his graduation picture from high school. He looked a little bit like that, as I remember. Hi, Harold, wherever you are.
So, Paul, last week with Rod in studio, we didn't get much chance to talk about your vacation to Cape Cod. I was wondering what the best thing that you had to eat was.
Well, I'm not much of an adventurous when it comes to eating. I go with what treats me good, and I eat a lot of Italian food, as you well know. I like, and they feature seafoods. I stepped out on the limb a little bit. I've had a shrimp scallop scampi with linguine. It had a great scampi sauce of some kind. And then I went with another one of their big items up there is scrad. We have a lot of haddock and cod in this area for our fish fries, and they use scrad, and that was very good. But my wife was a total adventurous. We had probably in 3 days 6 meals there, and my wife just tried everything imaginable, mussels marinara, and she had clams 5 or 6 different ways, casino, and she had every place we went. Well, that's one thing we did. Every restaurant we ate in, we started out with a cup of the New England clam chowder to see how it stacks up here when they have it on the special boards around here and how they did it there. And I was surprised. It was very, very tasty. It's a little thinner around here. The people tend to make it like a bisque around here. They really make it thick, almost like a stew. And there it was thin, and it accented the flavor more of the clams and the stuff like that. Yeah, but I did a pretty good job. The last night I was there, I went into a restaurant where a girl had seen us. This was the third time. So we developed a little relationship with her. And over in the corner of the menu, after all the seafood items and the couple of beef items, they had a chicken parmesan and a rigatoni with meat sauce. So as my wife ordered, and I said to the girl, I said, I think I might try this chicken parmesan. And she says, are you ready to order, sir? And I said, yeah, I think I'm going to try this chicken parmesan. She said, would you like to order, sir? So I immediately got, in other words, I wasn't at an Olive Tree, or I wasn't at Antonina's, and I wasn't at the Deluxe, and I wasn't she was trying to stir me away. Yeah. And the way she handled it was incredible. And, it was so when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Yeah, we have good chicken parm around here at various locations. So.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah, that's a big item at the Deluxe. We out of 1,000 dinners a week, we usually move between 90 and 110 chicken parms. I mean, that's just one item. It's real popular, and it's there's no waste to it. It's all perfect chicken breast meat, and everybody around here does a good job with it. It all depends on what you put on top of it, Jimmy. You know how to make the sauce.
Yep. Yeah, good sauce will make anything good.
Amen.
I've seen some haddock parmesan as well, recently. I don't know, do you guys ever serve that at the Deluxe?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the one thing, the cheese on the haddock, the fried haddock, I can see the sauce, but the cheese, I don't know if I'd like that so much.
Yeah, well, you take a relatively healthy fish dinner, and, the time you put the cheese on it and the sauce on it and, and everything like that, you say, people just don't think of it. It's on our menu now, and we did a new menu, and instead of just putting the items down under it, we a brief explanation like you'll see when you go into restaurants, and you'll see what's in it, and the people seem to have picked up on that a lot. And with our new menu that came out, quite a while ago, 3, 4, 5 months ago, items that weren't selling before that were hidden on the menu. When you explained to them how they were prepared, they've picked up a little bit. So that's good that people move around when they go to restaurants instead of get stuck in the same rut, because it doesn't put any pressure on the restaurant. If they try, like we have, like 58 entrees and with 2 specials a night, and every once in a while somebody come in and they'll say, "Don't you ever have anything different?" Well, then you realize they eat there twice a week, Jim. Yeah. That's 100 times a year. So to them, you get locked in.
Yeah, it's similar to me for lunch at Red's place here in Seneca Falls. We do go to a few different places, but Red's usually at least twice a week for lunch. Right. And yeah, we get the same thing. So when they do have a different special, I usually jump on it just out of curiosity. But then there's places like Antonina's where I've had usually in the winter, I'll get their chicken parm and bring it home at least one night a week. We'll order out, pick it up, and bring it right home. And I never get sick of that chicken parm with the garlic potatoes. And yeah, I mean, I think that one thing that we are blessed with up here in upstate New York is a variety of great food. And sometimes it doesn't come from the restaurant. Sometimes it comes from a certain friend of yours that makes a certain dish a certain way that you love, or it comes from our kitchen. When I make the sauce on Sunday and lasagna for my daughter, we know how to eat up here in upstate New York.
Yeah, and this time of the year is particularly exciting for me because I still get excited when I sit down at the table to eat something. I mean, with all that could go wrong during the daytime, like you and in the high-tech world you're in, and machines break down and people disappoint you and your dog did something bad in the backyard or something like that. When I sit down at the table, I want what I want, and I don't cut corners. And and here you get a lot of people that still do things the old-fashioned ways. You have people that have cook-offs, the people that still make sauce from scratch. My wife and I, we make every 2 weeks we make a double batch of sauce, and my wife makes it from scratch. And
explain to me how you make that sauce from scratch. I don't make sauce from scratch. I used to use the prepared canned tomatoes and the paste and the puree and all that. What do you do when you make?
Well, those things are involved, but the thing of it is, what I'm talking about is the sautéing of the fresh ingredients in the bottom of the pan when you start. A lot of people will nod their heads this morning when I say you start out with pork and you try to get a high-flavored pork, like a pork steak with a lot of fat in it and a little bone. You put you put a little olive oil in it and you sauté it till the pork gets crispy. Then you throw in the fresh garlic and the onion, and you throw in this time of year the fresh parsley, and this time of year the fresh basil in the bottom. You get that all tan, and then you put a little bit of a water in so that stuff doesn't burn, and then you throw the tomato products that you use in. Like you can use tomatoes that you've canned from the year. You blend them in the blender, you put it in there, and you add a little puree and paste like you were saying. But everything in there just explodes, and it cooks slow for 3 to 4 hours. And a lot of people take all that stuff out, and they strain that when they make their sauce. But the houses that I was raised in, lived in, they actually put most of that stuff right on top of the spaghetti when it was done, And the restaurants are forced to kind of strain that and get the flavor into the sauce. But you can't put parsley that's been cooked 5 hours on top. But I say, why not? Yeah. I mean, if it was, it's delicious to start with. But basically, and we still have places doing that. And you mentioned one of them, Antonina's. We do that. We make, we're open 6 days. We make 5 40-quart batches of sauce a week. We go through 200 quarts of sauce a week up there minimum. We had to actually, a few people were buying it for a while, but it was too much of a interference with our business. So they'd want 20 meatballs and some sauce, and we say, geez, we're not really into that.
They take it home with them and freeze it or whatever.
And that's okay, because most of the time they patronize you some other time. But you could, we don't want to run a cash and carry business and sell that stuff that way, if we can help it. And it's not so evident now, because I know if you go down to buy your tomato products in the stores, you'll see now 20 different kinds of prepared sauce.
Yeah.
It used to be Ragu and Enrico's, and now there's names there. It could be Jim and Paul's, sauce, or something like that. So that's the way that is, yeah.
Well, it is a good season for eating, no doubt. And Thanksgiving's around the corner. Syracuse basketball is less than a month away. It's amazing how it sneaks right up on you. And speaking of sneaking right up on you, the local Finger Lakes leagues and high school sports are actually winding down their fall season, which it seems like it just started. So figure we'd start off with football. Good weekend, as we were talking about before the show, for Minders and Waterloo. Football winning. Taking a look at the Finger Lakes East, it's Geneva at 6-0, and they look fantastic. Shane Sweeney set a Section 5 record earlier this year with 8 touchdowns in one game, and last weekend against Penn Yan, they won 54-8, and Shane Sweeney threw 4 more touchdown passes. And Sweeney, there's a guy that's probably going to play football at the next level of college.
I would say definitely. I mean, there's got to be somebody 3 blocks from him giving him a good hard look at Hobart. I mean, Hobart's program this year is 6-0 probably, and the coach has taken that team, and every year they go to the playoffs now, and they won a game in the playoffs there. So talking about maybe getting down to the final 8, and Hobart's moved that program along. They're beating teams with solid football. Geneva. 306 points in 6 games.
Wow.
51 points a game,
that's high school.
I mean, this area is famous for good, hard-hitting football, but we feature running backs usually and good, hard defense, and we try to score 2 touchdowns, kick a field goal, win the game 17. This kid really lights it up there, and they've got a good running back. Some kid, I think his name is Jackson, and they got some good receivers that can go up and get the ball. And
help Sweeney.
Yeah, and the kid is a guy, as you look at him physically, I watched him at basketball game. He looked frail to me, and, of course, when you get to this age and you start getting bigger as you get older, everybody looks frail to you. But he's a healthy, good athlete, and he's got a great head.
Yep.
It's like having another coach on the court or on the field when he's out there, and it's got to be a coach's delight. And the AD at Waterloo coached at Mid-Lakes when the Panics boys had a senior and a freshman playing there. So he coached them in his freshman year, and he started varsity basketball. He came up off the bench 6th and 7th and everything like that. So guys like that come along once in a while. You enjoy them. But on balance, for getting a one athlete, Minders winning 4 games this year after winning 2 last year, and 1 was a forfeit. Waterloo, I think they won 2 last year. They're 3-3, and there's games they maybe were in and could have won and didn't win, but
they're lucky to be not. I shouldn't say they're lucky to be 3-3, but last Saturday to even up the record at 3-3, they had to defeat Wayne, and they did it by driving 97 yards in less than 2 minutes left. Yeah. Doug Deal scoring a game-tying touchdown and then converting the extra point, and then eventually winning that game. So
I mean, that's a Cinderella. That's what you pray for if you're covering a game TV-wise. 96 yards, 1 minute and 57 seconds, make the 2-point conversion, and score in overtime the touchdown to win the game on your home field.
Yeah, and a huge, huge win because now you're at 3-3. You got a chance to finish over 500, which is the primary goal for I think all these teams when they start the season is to be a winning football team. And we'll run through a few more of these teams. You got East Rochester Gananda. Now they're 5-1, 1 game behind Geneva, led by Jake Miller and Chris Falumantes, a couple of running backs, form a nice tandem there for that merged team. Which that you're Gananda and East Rochester, you put them together, you got a good football team. Maybe separate, not so. Maybe they're not 5-1. Newark 4-2, Wayne 3-3. After that, lost to Waterloo. Pelmac 3-3. Stephen Morrell went 19 for 36, 253 yards and 3 touchdowns last weekend, and against Mid-Lakes. And then at the bottom of the league, you have Mid-Lakes and Penn Yan both at 0-6. So that's the East. Kick it over to the West, where this past Saturday there was the game of the year, Red Jacket against Clyde Savannah. Both teams were 5-0, and it was Red Jacket with the win, led by Cyrus Baker, who took a punt back for a touchdown, had another rushing touchdown, had a forced fumble, and Clyde's a fantastic football team. And so I going into that game, I thought, well, Clyde's going to end up winning this game and winning the league. But here you go. Red Jacket pulls it out. They're 6-0. Clyde's now 5-1. And then right behind them, a big surprise is Minders at 4-2. We haven't been 4-2 here at Seneca Falls at Minders in a while. And it's thanks to guys like Brandon Pascalacqua, Tim Trickler, Aaron Peterman, and everybody else who's christened the new field at Brockfield with some wins.
Let's see. They only played 3. The first year of the of having the new field, and unfortunately they only played 3 home games, right?
Right.
They're 2-1 there. They beat Dundee this last game, and I think they opened up and they beat somebody.
Buffalo School. It's called Nichols.
Right. And in between that, they played somebody that was really good and come down. And who did they play? Clyde.
Yeah, it was Clyde. Yeah.
Down there. Yeah.
They took it to him.
Yeah. It's I tell you, 4-2, and as you read, I mean, I only been to one game, and I got there in the second quarter, and. It was the game against the Buffalo School, and Minders was on fire that night. The kids have done a good job, and it seems to be a lot of names popping up in the paper. They seem to share the wealth. There's running backs. They've got tandems of running backs.
Yeah,
I mean, they
three
got
of them actually.
Yeah, they got 3 or 4 kids that are sharing it. And they don't seem to. I don't know what it's like in the locker room, but they seem to. A different name pops up every week. It's Trickler doing this. It's Peterman doing that. It's Pasalacqua doing this, and now Pasalacqua in the last game passed for a few yards. And so going towards the end of the season, I like Minder's chance going to get in the sectionals for the first time. I mean, not first time, but I mean going to play a meaningful game.
Yeah.
They'll probably might play somebody seated right with them or somebody up a little ways from them. It's a chance to make their mark.
Yeah, and great attendance too at the home games for Miners. A lot of that's the new field. A lot of it's a winning team. It's good because football was almost a little bit left for dead over the past several years here. You know, and another reason for that is because Miners has a great soccer team, which we'll get to in a short bit here. But also in the Finger Lakes West, after Minders, you got Dundee at 2-4. You have Lions at 2-4, which is a big surprise because they got some great athletes on that team. Tony Franklin, Alex Mussolino, Maurice Wells, Nick Farah, who I assume is Derek's younger brother. 2-4, definitely not what they expect up in Lions. And then you got Marcus Whitman at 1-5. I should mention Tyler Dancause had a 78-yard return for a touchdown against South Seneca last Saturday to help them get their first win. And then, of course, you have South Seneca at 0-5 to round out the West. So good football this year in the Finger Lakes leagues, which is great to see. Those kids put in a lot of hard work in the summer leading up to the season, and unlike other sports, you don't get too many opportunities to get out on the field and show your stuff. You get 6 or 7 games, and that's it. So glad to see that some of the teams like Minders are doing well, and kudos to Red Jacket at 6-0. I know that out there in Shortsville, the community's taking a lot of pride in what that team has done, and hopefully they'll be able to continue their success into the postseason. How about some soccer? Finger Lakes boys soccer. Let's start with the boys. In the East, Minders, as I mentioned, is 11-0-1 and has full control of that Finger Lakes East. And then they're followed by Penyan at 5-6-1, Pelmac 4-5-2, Newark 6-4-0, but only 4-4 in the league. Geneva's 3-8-1, Waterloo's 3-7-1, and Midlakes is 0-13. So the poor Midlakes Eagles looking for their first win in either football or soccer this year so far as we head into October. And then we head to the West. You have Naples, a perennial soccer power at 12-0-1, followed by Honeoye at 8-5, Bloomfield 7-3-1, Harley Allendale Columbia 3-8-1, and Marcus Whitman 4-6-2, and South Seneca 0-11. South Seneca Romulus, I should say. There's a merged team there in the west, southern end of Seneca County. So, soccer sectional is always an exciting time. And I was lucky enough to be at the Minders Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony on Saturday night at NYCC, where the 1985 girls soccer team was honored. And it was really great to see their coach, John Nicholson, tell some stories about that team and seeing so much of that team up there, because those ladies were seniors when I was in 8th grade, and I really looked up to them as, first of all, being great-looking girls as an 8th grade boy, but just impressed with how dominant they were. They were the story of the community back then in 1985, and they went all the way to the state finals, and unfortunately, they were dominant, too. They were dominant. And in the state final game, there was an ice storm, and that kind of threw a wrench in their plans, and they lost by 1.
Yeah. Let me just say this, play on words. Whether or not that was probably the best soccer team that we've had come out of this area in the many years before it when they started. I don't know exactly what, and it's tribute to them. And they all looked like, I saw some pictures. I didn't make it. I was watching on your show, and I saw some pictures. They could look like they bring it today. Mm-hmm. They all looked great, and they all, and John Nicholson, he really enjoyed what he was doing. He had very emotional when he was bringing them up there. But you know what? People say, well, he this or that. But when you think back to what normally you don't know what you got when you have it. You realize it later. And there's an indication was, they keep talking about the game and the ice and the ref missed a call. It doesn't matter. Those girls know where they were at that place and time, and that probably was the best team in the state of New York. And I know
in any class too. Yeah, I think.
The athletic prowess of those girls on a dry field, I think, anybody can say this. I think that had been a 4-1 game, minders. But, that's just the way it is. But they're champions, and it was good to see them come back, as well as some of the other people that came back from my eras, the 50s. And it was good to see two gentlemen get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Also, and it was a very good show. They congratulations to Rod and his committee. They did a great job. Yep.
Well, before we move forward into some more of the sports like girls soccer and volleyball and a little cross country I got for you today, we got to mention the sponsors. Paul, how about we kick it off with the Deluxe Restaurant?
Yeah,
what's going on?
Well, the Deluxe, it's all psychological, a lot of it. We're in a good frame of mind because the Giants won Sunday, so we opened up this week and and now we've switched. The specials are basically the same, but we add a few more cold weather specials, like we're doing a roast pork dinner now with dressing and gravy and potatoes, the old staples that you remember when you were a kid, and the turkeys, which we've been having because by demand, and the chicken biscuits and those type of dinners are the specials during the week, besides the red sauce, which is selling off the board now because the weather's gotten bitey and all. But those are also the strength of all of our items are that if you bring in somebody young or somebody elder comes in, don't have the appetite they used to have, all that stuff is available in half portions at a really nice price to the pocketbook, and it helps the people out. And we're their hometown family type of restaurant, and they like coming in. They appreciate the fact that we're trying to serve them the food that they remember, the food that they like, that they just don't have time to do home, and give it to them for a price that's fair. And they've rewarded us with a great business, and Charlie's really happy with the way things are going. When you come in there, I hate to beat an old thing down, but you're not just a customer, you're a friend. It's like family, and that's the way the Deluxe has thrived. 26 years. And still going strong, and Charlie appreciates everything. Says thank you, and he appreciates everybody.
And also the Lizards Lounge in Waterloo, where they're talking karaoke, live music, great food, great times, darts. Normally Harold has the old schedule of events with him, but today we don't, so we can just tell you, look, if you're looking for some few laughs and a good time out in the town with some various entertainment, Lizards Lounge in Waterloo is the place to go. Or if you're having a private party, especially if it's an informal holiday party, office party, 315-539-1234. That's an easy one to remember. 539-1234. Call them and ask them about their hosting your next private party at Lizards. And then, of course, we have the Omen Theater in Lyons, which this weekend will be playing Trouble with the Curve, Clint Eastwood baseball movie. Showtime's on the 12th, which is 7:30 p.m. on October 13th. They have a matinee at 3 p.m. And on the 14th, it's a 4:30 show and a 7:30 show. And then also on the 13th at 7 o'clock, it's Ron and Nancy One Song, which is a live event at the Omen Theater, fully restored, just fantastic. If you're going to see this Clint Eastwood movie and you're thinking of going to the mall or to the strip mall, take the drive to Lyons and check out this fabulous venue at the Omen Theater. And that brings up Seneca Falls Country Club, which is still open for business. The greens were airified and are repaired and back in shape. The course is in great shape, and there's still great weather to play some golf. Friday night dinners are still going on down there, I believe, and there is a money tournament coming up on the 26th. If you want information on that, give a call down to the Pro Shop. Hit 315-568-5202. Think about Seneca Falls Country Club for a unique Christmas gift this season of a membership for your local golfer, or better yet, you're young, you're a junior golfer. I'm sure they'll be pleased to get a junior membership to the country club. So again, that number is 315-568-5202, or visit them online at SenecaFallsCountryClub.com. And that is a perfect segue to Dick Marshall's Auto, because I drove by, I saw 4 SUVs on the lot, and I saw some activity in the service center this morning. Dick Marshall's Auto, you can check out his vehicles online at dickmarshallsauto.com. And the reason I say it's a great segue, Paul, is because, as we know, Dick is a huge NASCAR fan, and it might be a good time to get a little Chase for the Cup update. Did you watch the race this weekend at Talladega?
Oh, yeah, I watched the race. But before we get to the race, I'd just like to say that there's always a lot of activity at Marshall's Auto outside.
Yeah.
People are coming in, and here's the scenario. Dick, as he's gotten older, likes older things. He likes to accomplish something by keeping a car running for you for 100,000 plus miles. And he's got a technician that's on the same page with him as Tommy back there. And they do an excellent job of keeping, because I know that a lot of older people, they just really don't want to give up their car and get into these new fandangled things. And they keep a lot of people up and running. And when you do want a car, Dick goes out and gets you a good 2 or 3 year old car, and it's going to be reliable. And if it's not, they can fix anything. So that's the key there. And going in, Dick might have been a little frustrated this weekend. I'm not even going to say the normal chant, boogity, 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 because it's probably the guy who said it best after the race was Dale Jr. He said, he says, if I had my ways and I could stay into racing, and I would skip Daytona and Talladega. He says, because this is ridiculous. People of our ability and with our experience, racing around a track all day, and then in the last lap, out of pure frustration, you make moves that cost a lot of people, a lot of things. And forget the point chase. It's... I know those cars are put together pretty good, but I don't know if you saw that crash, but the guy that caused it was sideways and upside down for quite a while, and he was wedged between cars, and everybody come out. It's a miracle. I mean, whoever does the engineering and whoever puts those guys, those sheet metal guys, those welders, those things, holy cow. But like Dale Jr. said, I don't come here to race 5 hours and then have one guy get a little squirrely in the end. He said that's a rookie mistake, and there was no.
Tony Stewart was the guy that caused that.
Yeah, Tony come right out, was laughing. He says, "Yeah, that was me. I did that because he had his day in the glory last year." So Tony he's been mellowing a little bit, but every once in a while he gets like that when he can't win something. He seems to go out and try to do that. And I do take Junior's side into this episode because that eliminated a lot of guys from the chase. That eliminated him. He's so many points behind. He's like 9th or 10th.
And that's just a chance, That's just you're not gonna. That's not a race, a crash you can avoid. If you're in the middle of that thing when that goes down, there is nowhere to go.
Yeah, to go from 8th to 18th and lose all those points, and then there's 3 guys basically right now that are running at the top that got a chance now after that race, and the other 9 that got in the chase that fought all year to get there really don't have a chance. And I don't like it to come down to the finals like that, and that's the way it happened. But they'll be back out there. This is the only night race, and I can't remember where they are this week. I think it's a short track night racing this Saturday.
Not Bristol, is it?
It might be Bristol. That's one of the short tracks, but that gets exciting too. That's bump and run.
Yeah.
But the speeds aren't as high,
right?
Because they're on a shorter track. So
Talladega, it's bump and run, but they're going, at full throttle.
Well, it's that drafting, and it's that. Oh, it's crazy. But it's on, and it's Saturday night, so it's something to watch. The baseball, everybody that needed to win won to keep the series interest. Oakland won their first game, so they're down 2-1. Mm-hmm. And I think the Giants won last night, so got back against Cincinnati.
In Cincinnati, my buddy in Cincinnati, a good friend of mine, brought his son to the game, and they saw a loss, an extra inning game, the 10th inning. The third baseman for Cincinnati, Boots, one game over. It's a tough way to go out, but I guess it's not as tough when you're up 2-0. But when you're up 2-0 and you give that one game back, now all of a sudden, I think that when you win 2 on the road, you come back home, you close it out right away if you can. So
that format is different too. And the format that everybody raved about, I will say I don't like the way it works out. When the last wild card teams get in and they have to play so hard and use all of their best pitchers to get in, then you give them a one-game scenario the next day. I mean, I'm sure I'm mentioning this. Leslie, this is for you. The Braves got one game. They fought to get in. They were the last team to get in, and they fell a little short. I'd like to see a 2 out of 3 maybe between the
short in the regular season from 162 to 154 and have
it's all about the money, Jim. I know. You're right. It was 154 game for forever, and this is what it was. But it's exciting. Nobody's been eliminated yet, right? No.
Not other than those first one-game playoffs.
I mean, it's everybody's still playing tonight. The Yankees are playing Baltimore
tonight.
Big
game for the Yankees.
Yeah, big game there. And
A-Rod strikes out to end the game in Camden a couple nights ago.
Well, he strikes out all the time now. I mean, actually,
I'd bench him. I would.
That shows how bad of an investment they got when you bench a $250 million guy. They just keep moving him through the lineup trying to save place for him, I'd bat him 9th and then pinch hit for him second time up. I mean, it's ridiculous. The other guys are going out there, and they got some players that are really starting to come back now. Teixeira got healthy. Swisher's hitting the ball relatively hard, and Cano's Cano. Yeah. And Jeter, every game, 2 hits. Come on, America. 40-year-old, all right, I'm exaggerating, but, gee, come on. I mean, why can't A-Rod just say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to choke up, I'm going to shorten my – he's not going to break the home run record. He's got no chance. But, I mean, people are just – and he makes a lot of key outs. I think he's the weak link going forward. But they played those teams every game. They split with Baltimore on the year. And so I always like it if they would start the playoffs and you would go over and play the West Coast team would play the East Coast team, and they would play do it that way because the games are less games during the year. There's not 18 or 19. I don't know how many there are, probably 8 or whatever, or 9 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it would make for more interesting. I know the scenario, Baltimore, and I know it's in the Yankees. And I know, with the exception of the other night, when the Yankees won 7-2, and it's going to come down to the 9th inning. Well, it did come down to the 9th inning. He scored all the runs in the 9th inning. But this is just the way it is, the familiarization. And Buck's not going to let him run away from him. He knows the Yankees, and that's that. But, yeah, exciting baseball playoffs. Doing very good right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. I watched both those games last night. They're 2 of the less marquee games, I think. Oakland in Texas and San Francisco and the Reds, but I watched them both because something about it, something about the atmosphere in those stadiums, and when you get to the later innings, and every pitch and every batter is so important, and the poor third baseman for the Reds, I can't think of his name, bobbled that ball last night. That you just hope they go on to win that series, otherwise he'll be regretting that error. Getting back to the high school sports, let's talk about a little Finger Lakes girls soccer. We got Red Jacket girls at 7-1, the Waterloo girls at 6-3-1, Wayne Central and Naples at 6-0, Palmyra Macedon 4-2-2, Dundee's at 4-3-1, Geneva's at 4-4. Minders is at 3-4-1. Unfortunately, they lost a midfielder, Rachel Jones, a senior who played soccer her whole career growing up as a youth and into high school, and was brought up to varsity, I believe, as a freshman. Senior year, tears her ACL.
Wow. So
I know she's I talked to her dad last night, actually, and she's a little down in the dumps about it, but keep your head up, Rachel, on that one.
Yeah, well, she's a senior this year, and up going into all of this, they've had some good years in soccer, and she was a part of it, so hopefully she can retain those memories. Last year they were a good force, and the year before that I'm pretty sure the girls were a good force. Mm-hmm. So she was a part of that. She got to be a part of something like that, which she contributed heavily to. She was missed when she went out, but she could keep her head high, and so can the other girls keep their head high. It's something when you build that camaraderie up over basic basically 3 years for on a varsity level, maybe 4 for some, but it doesn't come down to one season or one game. You did a great job, and the girls are still competitive.
Yep. And that was on the new field. They were playing, not that they had anything to do with it. It's just the girls are playing soccer on that new Brock field as well, multi-purpose, not just football. Then you got South Seneca 3-5-1, Marcus Whitman 3-6-1, Bloomfield at 3-2, Romulus at 3-5, Mid Lakes at 2-4-2, Newark 2-3-1, Penn 2-5, Honeoye 1-7, and Harley Allendale Columbia at 0-6. And then we kick it over to the Wayne County League for the girls soccer. Got Gananda leading the way at 8-0. Marion at 7-2. Red Creek is at 5-3-1. Sodas is 4-5. Williamson is 3-4-1. North Rose Wolcott 2-6. And Lyons is at 0-10. And that's the way things look for the girls heading down the stretch run here. Cross country, so it's tough, Paul, to get some of this information. Couldn't find much information on golf, which, standing wise. So I don't have any information on the boys' golf. But cross country, there's a few meets coming up here of note. On October 20th, it's a Marion Invitational. It's an open 5K. On October 23rd, it's the Wayne Finger Lakes Modified Invitational. On October 27th, it's a big one, the Monroe County Championships. On October 27th, it's the Wayne Finger Lakes Championships at North Rose Wolcott. And then November 3rd is the Section 5 Championship meet. So good luck to all the cross-country runners, boys and girls. There's a lot of them. You see them running around town every afternoon for practice.
Yeah, with cross-country, I will say that's a tough sport to follow. You see them, then you don't, and then you see them come back, and you don't know what goes on out there. But you're in cross-country as a team. I mean, there are certain individuals that have a chance to win some of those events you talked about, and move on to the sectionals, and maybe in a real good year even move on to the states as an individual. But there's also teams that can go, and you're only as strong as your fifth placed runner. So it is a team sport. Somebody can go out and run a 16 5K, but the guy or girl who runs the 18 5K and beats out two people from another team and picks up those two spots, so her team wins the event, and they move on to the sectionals and like that as a team. So it is a team sport, but when you see that first runner come in, a lot of times there's a big gap, Jim. I mean, it could be a football field, 100 yards, because the guy has just been training, running since a certain age and doing that, and then the rest of them come in. So I've always watched the fourth and fifth place runners on every team, and I watch the duels going on in the back, and I look at their faces, and the mud is flinging sometimes, and their legs are all covered with mud, and the weather at this time of year. I mean, runners stay warm, but when you get damp and you get chilled and you get out there running, it's a hard sport. People just think, it's easy for them. They run all the time, but it's not. There's a lot of strategy. Yep.
Girls volleyball in the Finger Lakes East, we got Waterloo at 8-1, class of the East. In Mid Lakes at 7-2, so a little bit of a local Phelps, Seneca Falls, Phelps, Waterloo, Clifton Springs rivalry going on there on the volleyball court between the girls. Then you bring it back with Palmyra Masson at 4-3, Geneva 4-3, Wayne 3-4, Newark 2-6, and Penn 0-9. Finger Lakes West, Honeoye 7-0, HAC 6-2, South Seneca Romulus 5-2. Bloomfield's 2-4, Dundee's 1-6, and Minders is 0-7. And then up in the Wayne County League, Lions 11-0 on the volleyball court. Gananda 9-2, Williamson 7-2, Clyde Savannah 5-5, East Rochester 4-6, Marion 3-6, North Rose Wolcott 1-9, and Sodas 0-10. And that is how things look in girls volleyball.
So just going on the air and giving Harold's jumping up and down over there. He's throwing his hands in the air. He's got his hands up in the air. I think he wanted me to mention this. What's that, Harold? Oh, okay. Harold's is saying in some muted way that usually basketball programs feed off volleyball. Mm-hmm. So we're to look for something for Lions this year, 10-0. A lot of leapers, a lot of people that hit the floor and dig and do
Yep.
that. I know I go to the Waterloo games. I've been to only 2, and there's I think 6 girls that play basketball are out there.
I'm
And
really
s-
excited about that team, the
Yeah,
Waterloo girls basketball team this
yeah,
year.
they're still kind of young
Yeah.
too. I still think they'll have a couple of seniors this year that'll contribute very well. But the core of the team, I think, is like sophomores, juniors,
The big 2 with Lindsey Johnson and Lauren Deming are juniors this year, correct? Is that correct?
Yeah, they're juniors this
Yeah.
year, and their pictures in the paper a lot at the net. That's got to be pretty formidable. Those
Yeah.
girls, they list them at 6 foot or whatever they list them at. They're both taller than me, and I'm a shrinking 6 foot. So they're probably, they go up, and that's a great sport. A lot of leaping, but a lot of throwing your body around too, and the positions going to the floor and stuff like that. So a lot of people say, well, I don't want them to get hurt for this, but I think you're in school to play and these 3 sports and to give as much as you can. So
Sure.
you just got to take your chances.
And hey, I mentioned Lauren Deming. She's the daughter of Sherry Deming. Sherry Barrett was her maiden name, who was on that 1985 Minders girls soccer team that was honored Saturday night. So her,
Yeah.
good genes for
The
Lauren.
apple
Yep.
don't fall far from the tree. Huh?
Yeah, and I seen Lauren play, and she's an amazing basketball player. And I'm really excited to see that Waterloo team this winter in Newark and Minders on the girls' side. Should be some good competition.
Yeah, I think that the basketball it seems like the fall season is short because they're finishing up by the end of October, and summer's
Yeah,
the fall's only a month long because
Yeah.
they have to start it in the summer because they have to get the games in.
Yeah.
And the winter seems like it's so long, and of course there's more basketball games. And
You got a big winter break in the middle of Christmas,
yeah, and I like it because people can get together and go inside and watch Minders Waterloo twice
Yep.
in girls basketball. I mean, and you go in there and for $3 and maybe buy a raffle ticket or something like that. You're not going to get this kind of entertainment on your television or on your internet. Trust me.
Yep.
You're going to get watered down stuff, and you're not going to see effort like this. It means a lot to these athletes, boys and girls, and I think it's the best entertainment in town. I pay that $3, and I went to both Waterloo Minders games last year. I went to a lot of boys games and girls games, and it's really, really competitive. And I'm disappointed because Waterloo built that beautiful facility up there, and boy, you can hear the echoes in there. And it shouldn't be that way. There should be 500, 600, 800 people at those games, rather than the 200 to 300 that are there. But
Well, I think Jeff Panik's going to coach the boys varsity this year for Waterloo, if you can believe that. And then I think Mike Ferrara is going to take over JVs. I heard this a couple weeks ago. So it might be a little breaking news for you out there if you haven't heard that. But
Well-
with those 2 coaching, you're gonna definitely see some improvement because even if it's by the sheer force of will,
it's not taking. I think both of those guys are staples in the game, and they will bring to the table disciplined teams that go out there and don't break down and don't give up. They may not have the athletes, but the programs will build under them, and people will want to play in a system that's structured like Jeff Panik and Mike Ferrara are famous for. And those guys, their records show up for them and speaks for themselves. That's a good that Waterloo. That's really very good for you if that's what Jimmy said is true this morning. That's very good.
I heard it from the horse's mouth, so
Good.
I heard it right from Mike and Jeff. So
Nice.
I feel comfortable reporting that. Well, we're heading up close on the 10 o'clock hour. Anything before we get out of here?
I'm not sure. Let's see. What did we miss? Did we miss anything? Probably not. This is a great
We
time.
didn't talk much about football, but
It's got. I think at the college level, things are moving along. You stayed low key this morning. You got your first win, like you told me. You're in first place in the Big East.
That's right.
People are saying, they look terrible. They did this. Listen, they scored 14 points, and then for the rest of the game, they held Pittsburgh, to 13 points and stopped them.
Great
every time they had
defense,
to.
and I think we're going to do well in Rutgers Saturday. Yeah.
Big game this week. They get this game, like you said, the second part of the season has started, could be a success moving forward. But in the bigger picture, teams have stepped up now, and some of the names that stayed up there for a while just because they had the past performances. USC can be challenged every week now. LSU got beat.
Alabama's the only untouchable team, I think.
Alabama and I think are head and shoulders this year. Usually there's a couple teams that could step in. The only team that could rattle an Alabama is a team that could score quick. I don't know who that is. Nobody's running up. But the surprise of the year for me is South Carolina. Spurrier's doing it again.
And Notre Dame a little bit, too. Is a
Notre
bit of a
Dame,
surprise.
but you want to be quiet about that because
right.
it's a look for a long time to get back,
Mm-hmm.
And they had trouble with the Miami team last week. They sputtered, and then they ended up burying them. But because they do have they got a really good quarterback this year. Yeah, so college football is kind of exciting after Alabama, as you said, and professional parity has been reached in the NFL. You got the Green Bay Packers at 2-3.
Yeah.
No, that's not an error. The Green Bay Packers at 2-3, playing for their proverbial playoff lives this week, going into Houston, who's 5-0.
Yeah.
And Green Bay will win that game, so that's not a problem. But the idea of it getting to this point, when you see Seattle's going out there, Arizona's, and you see the St. Louis Rams, this is what the people were looking for. So now you got it. So as far as that, stop that rumor every year of New England will be 16-0 this year, and Miami's safe for a while with that 17-0 because I think that this is great for the game. And it's just you got a chance every week. And, of course, the big disappointment, but you can't say we didn't tell you so, is Buffalo starting out again like they did. The last 3 weeks, they've been the worst team in football on defense. And that's where they spent all their time this year, Jim, addressing the defense. They picked up the tight end or not the tight end, but
Mario
the defensive
Williams,
end. But they also a high draft choice. And they left the offense alone, which I think the offense is okay. It's just that so mistake and error prone at this level. It's hard to accept.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is for Buffalo. It's not like I can look at that team and say, oh, they got to do this and that different. It's like it's a overall culture thing at this point where you have to you just have to win to break that culture. I don't know if it's one personnel move can make a difference. I mean, spending all that money on Mario Williams, he had one tackle last week. He's been non-existent this year, and they say he's got a wrist injury, but he's been a non-factor. When you spend that much money on a defensive lineman, you better hope you see that guy making an impact on the game, the way that the Syracuse defensive lineman did this weekend against Pittsburgh, or the way several NFL defensive ends make an impact on the game. But the Bills aren't getting that from Williams, and boy, San Francisco just shredded them, just lit them up.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, was it the week before San Francisco took an upset loss to somebody or something?
Yeah.
You don't want to play teams like that.
No.
After they lose a game. Wow, that they're kind of embarrassed, and that's the way that works. But a lot of tight division races. We won't even go over them because it's only a lot of teams 3-2 in first place. It's what it is. Injuries are popping up. Injuries have started already. They make a little difference, but you should be deeper than that when you're carrying those rosters. So big week this week, week 6 in the NFL. It'll be a lot of exciting games.
Yeah, we gotta love it. Love it. Well, we're about out of time here. Harold will not be. It'll be me and you again next week, Paul, too. And maybe we can see if we can get our friend Joe Spazzato or someone else in here to talk a little sports with us. But have a great Wednesday, everybody. Harold will be back in 2 weeks for the final edition of the show. Paul, you have a great week, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks a lot, Jim.